So, shut that news audio down. Welcome to the Hot Lap. Now, I'm assuming we are streaming. I'm just going to actually double check on the actual YouTube channel because you never know. But breaking news: Lewis Hamilton does indeed have a penalty for blocking Sergio Perez, of all people. I mean, what? We're gonna. Yeah, I'm live. Okay, we're most certainly going to have a look at that because this is weird. I'm all for it. For blocking, absolutely, you should get a penalty for blocking. Absolutely, you should. Completely understand. You should get a penalty if you block. But we're going to have a closer look at this, and I'm not 100% sure that he should have got that penalty. And I don't think, personally, I'm the only one, in my opinion. But we'll see. So, let's have a look, shall we? Let's just transfer this. So, Lewis Hamilton, 3-place grid penalty for essentially blocking. Now, I imagine, here we go. So, let's have a read of this out. I don't know, can you see? I can't really zoom in too much more, but I'll read it for you though. So it says, the stewards, having received a report from the race director, summoned documents 31 and 32. They heard from the drivers and team representative. They've considered the following matter. So car 44, as we know, very much Lewis Hamilton. Car 44 unnecessarily impeded car 11 in turn 9. It says that as a fact, which is interesting. The time, 15:09. Decision, drop of 3 grid positions for the next race in which the driver participates. So Hamilton essentially, I think, 15th rather than 12th. Now, it says here, before we start looking at the footage, excuse me, the stewards heard from the car of driver 11, as in Sergio Perez, the car driver 44, Lewis Hamilton team representatives, and review the positioning / marshalling system, data, video, timing, telemetry, team radio, and in-car evidence. The car of the number 44, Lewis Hamilton, being on an in-lap, he was informed by the team that car number 11 was approaching on a fast lap when he entered into turn 8. He then drove offline in the exit of turn 8 with the intention to give away for car 11. Okay, so far, so good. However, when car 11 arrived, car 44 had already entered turn 9 and drove back towards the racing line at the exit of turn 9, therefore clearly impeding car 11. The stewards determined that whilst there was an appropriate warning by the team, and albeit the driver tried to move out of the way, he could have slowed down more in order to not impede the other car, and therefore consider the impeding to be unnecessary in the sense of the regulations. Therefore, a grid drop is applied in line with previous decisions. Competitors are reminded that they have the right to appeal certain decisions of the stewards in accordance with Article 15 of the FIA. International Sporting Code, Chapter 4, yada yada yada. Decisions of the stewards are taken independently of the FIA. This is one of the big problems, I think. The stewards, they are independent. Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm sure they are, but then they're not consistent. They are not consistent at all. So, what do I mean? I mean, this guy here sums it up really nicely. It's on F1 TV, so I'm not going to play it all. But if I play it from about here, he says quite a few pertinent things. This is clearly before the penalty came out, as shared on Twitter. I appreciate it's not the best footage, but it's not. I appreciate it's not the best footage.
Like it happens quite easily. But if Perez hadn't backed out of it as he comes into the apex, look, completely clear.
Absolutely, there you go.
Hamilton, nowhere near where Perez wants to be.
I mean,
all of this area.
What more can you say? He's not there. He's not impeding him.
I'm really surprised to see the FIA calling this.
And at this point here, let's have a look at. I mean, there we go. There's clearly the footage there. This is on Sky. I'm going to turn the volume off, but let's have. Can I get it as quick as we can? No.
I wonder if this is the impeding here. We're on board with Sergio Perez. Hamilton.
Okay, let's turn the volume off, and it's almost like Sergio Perez decided to decided himself that he was going to be impeded before he was actually impeded himself. So there you go. I mean, there's Lewis Hamilton. He's coming towards ahead. You can see Lewis Hamilton there. Here's Sergio Perez, and Lewis Hamilton he's coming towards Lewis Hamilton, and he slows down. He instead of trying to go past, he slows down, and he calls him names and everything like that. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at that again. He's driving. He's going towards Lewis Hamilton here, and he just stops. It's almost like he decided he was being impeded before he really was. Hamilton did try at that point. What can really Hamilton do? Sergio Perez did have a lot of space, and therein, for me, at the very least, lies the issue in respect of Lewis Hamilton getting that penalty. I just don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Particularly when we've got. Let me see here. That's the grid. So let's fast forward here. We're not playing the blame game, but we kind of are. If you leave a gap for Max, but F1 going ha ha ha. Here's the thing. This is dangerous. I mean, look there. There's Max Verstappen off the line there. Yeah, I'm going to pass everyone. And, you're not allowed to pass in the pit lane. That's something clear that we haven't had in Abu Dhabi. He also crosses the line there as well. Now, obviously, it's practice, but had that been in the race, it would have been quite the naughty moment. But that was okay. That was okay to pass people in the pit lane, which once again, in Abu Dhabi, I think it was declared you're not allowed to do. But Max Verstappen quite happily passing people in the pit lane, doesn't really get too much of a mention, and then crosses the white line there, coming out of the pit lane. Yes, it's not a penalty. In the race it would have been. Here we go. Max Verstappen crossing it, passing someone in the pit lane. Dangerous. Now here's the argument. Is that more or less dangerous than what Hamilton did here? Once again, Sergio Perez can see Hamilton. Hamilton has been told in turn 8 to slow down. Checo's coming. He does that in turn 9. There's not that far between turn 8 and turn 9 still. And then look, it's full speed, and then he just slow. I mean, where's Hamilton going to go? If he goes on the inside, it's going to hold him up even more. And this is the issue. Where is Lewis Hamilton going to go? So I don't quite agree with the penalty. There's not much you can really do about it, is there? But there we go. So Lewis Hamilton going 15th. Checo Perez. I mean, let's be fair, he didn't qualify that one anyway in the first place, did he? I mean, look, this is the qualifying results. We have Lando Norris in what was an absolutely monster lap. Second, P2 was Max Verstappen. P3, Oscar Piastri. P4, George Russell. Perez in 5th. I think that's kind of the minimum you'd really want him to be. Half a second of Verstappen. It is, to be fair, he got out of Q3. Q1. Well done, Sergio. And I just hope now Sergio Perez has a decent race. Potential podium, really. I mean, he should be faster than George Russell. Both Mercedes were, to be fair, really struggling during the qualifying. They were, which is a bit sad for the Mercs, because they looked so good. They looked so good in free practice 1 and free practice 2, didn't they? It was looking good for Mercedes, but sadly, it was not. Sadly, it was not to be. Excuse me about that at all. So let's look at some of the reasons why, shall we? So winners and losers. It was, to be fair, an absolutely thrilling one, and it was Lando Norris setting that pole position. An absolutely fantastic pole, a monster lap. Now we have that 78-point deficit between him and Verstappen. It's not insurmountable, but it's going to be really tricky. Verstappen still, I think he's got at least got one hand on the winner's trophy for the championship, not necessarily winner's trophy for the Dutch Grand Prix though. And it was a really good lap. Max Verstappen, he was beaten to pole. You could make a very good argument though that, to be fair to Max, it probably wasn't. It wasn't the best lap. He made an error, but also I think he's having now, whereas he hadn't before, to really drive that car. He's having now to make the difference, like he did in Imola, and he could make the difference today. The car wasn't fast enough. It's probably the second fastest car here, behind the McLaren. So it's a small gap, but it's still about 0.3. It's going to be interesting for the race. Red Bull, I believe, are hoping that the changes they made to the car, the changes they made to the car are going to be slightly better for the race. For example, George Russell, he is in the form of his life this year. It was struggling, wasn't he? He was struggling against Lewis Hamilton in Q3, all down to the tyres, he said. But once again, he did well in Q2, despite being a bit unhappy with his lap. And he produced an absolutely, I think, a lap where he beat Sergio Perez, and he's right there should anything happen at the start. Now, qualifying for Sergio Perez, I think that's about as good as Sergio Perez could have done. I mean, he's starting he's starting fifth, is Sergio. So, absolutely, I don't think Sergio Perez could have done more. So, well done, Sergio Perez. He blamed Hamilton a bit for that. Okay, it's by the by. We've talked about that. We didn't quite agree with the penalty, but a really solid result for Sergio Perez. Once again, I think fifth is the absolute minimum that Red Bull want. Hopefully he can go forward from there and get them plenty of points. But for me, other than Lando Norris, one of the drivers of the day is also under investigation for what could be an illegal underfloor. Eighth for Williams, Alex Albon. Absolutely fantastic for Alex Albon. I just hope that the underfloor plank, a bit of an exclamation mark. I'm really, really hoping that he doesn't do anything. They pass. Before I finish this live stream, I'm going to keep refreshing that page because I just really hope he keeps that eighth. I mean, Williams need all the points they can get, and I'm so happy with that, with Alex Albon. So we'll have our fingers crossed here. Oscar Piastri. I mean, third place, he would be happy pre-Hungary. I think that McLaren was good enough for second. And it's disappointing that Oscar Piastri didn't do second. Disappointing. He could still win though, couldn't he? I mean, that's the thing. Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz is starting, just like Lewis. He's starting 11th. Lewis Hamilton, Lewis was 12th, but he's now 15th after that penalty. I think he'll be quite disappointed. Bear in mind that Charles Leclerc is 6th. He did, though, didn't he? He did go fastest, I think, in Q1. So it was looking okay. And to be fair, though, I think that's just as much the Ferrari driver as anything else. So Lewis Hamilton, he hooked up qualifying in the Q1, but he said today it was frustrating. He said we've been looking good throughout the weekend in Q1. I was pleased with the balance of the car. He said, unfortunately, we struggled more in Q2 and it slipped through our fingers. Absolutely it did. And it's once again, we've seen this Mercedes be quite good in the practice session and struggle in qualifying. Russell struggled in the first qualifying in Q1 and Lewis Hamilton struggled in Q2. Not great. Next up, Daniel Ricciardo. Let's talk about Ricciardo, shall we? He didn't qualify too well. This is the man that people are rumoured to maybe be Sergio Perez's replacement. But once again, Tsunoda 13th, Daniel Ricciardo 16th. It's a prime example here of why Red Bull lacked the confidence of getting Daniel Ricciardo and making him Sergio Perez's replacement. And I think you could look at this qualifying session as a perfect example of why Red Bull chose to keep Perez over Ricciardo. I still think if you're going to do it, just swap Tsunoda and then put Lawson in there. That's what I would have done. But he finished almost half a second. That's the same deficit, to be fair, between Max and Checo Perez. But half a second off Tsunoda's time in Q1, which is just not good enough, really. I mean, I'm one of the people. I love Sergio Perez. I like Sergio, but I love Daniel Ricciardo. I really, really want to do well, but it is really hard. Being a Daniel Ricciardo fan in 2024 is just as hard, I think, as being a Daniel Ricciardo fan in 2021 and 2022. Logan Sargent, his future is outside of Formula One, and obviously he had that incident, that crash in P2, in free practice 3. Sorry. So there's not really much. There's not too much we can really say about that at all, is there? It still says here. I'm going to refresh the page, but it still says that it's under threat. Alex Albon is okay. Oh, there we go. Breaking news. 12 minutes ago, Williams race driver Alex Albon has officially been disqualified from the Dutch Grand Prix qualifying session over a technical infringement regarding an illegal flaw. Here it is on Planet F1. I'm just going to share it with you there. Yeah, the FIA has found the car flaw number 23 to lie outside the regulatory volume mentioned in the FIA articles. Soon after the checkered flag flew, Williams driver Albon found his impressive P8 threatened. Now, at 19:55 local time in Zandvoort, the FIA technical delegates found that the flaw was in breach of Article 3.5.1 of the FIA Formula 1 regulations. The stewards have since determined Albon should be disqualified. The particular piece of legislation relates to the flaw and states the flaw must lie within the RV floor body, and RV meaning regulatory volume. Wow, nerd speak. But the team did not dispute the collaboration. That being said, the stewards will be offering a greater relevance to the FIA measuring systems available in Parc Fermé. As such, number 23 has been disqualified from qualifying. That renders him as effectively setting no time, and as such, he'll start from the back of the field. All other cars will move up one position. I guess that helps Hamilton. He now starts 14th rather than 15th. I imagine because of the order in which they've done it. But yeah, Alex Albon disqualified. I mean, oh my gosh. There we go. I dare reset it now as well. So, who do we think? And we normally do a video here, but I figured might as well do a live stream about that Hamilton penalty because, wow. First of all, Lando Norris, congratulations. I think, surely, Lando Norris goes into the Grand Prix tomorrow as one of the favourites. Surely he does. In terms of second favourite, I don't know. That one, I'm not too sure. I think Max Verstappen is there, and I think Lando, for his own sanity, needs to beat Max Verstappen at his home. That'll be a massive psychological uplift for Lando Norris. It'll affect Max much, but psychologically, I don't think it's going to change the way he drives going forward. But I think for Lando, that will be brilliant. Oscar Piastri. Are McLaren going to use Oscar? Because Sergio Perez is just about up there in 5th, but if he doesn't if he doesn't keep both the McLarens honest, you got both McLarens can change, because they could do an alternate strategy, really putting Max against the wall, which is interesting. But as we know with Lando, the first hurdle is the start and the first corner. That's what he needs to get through. Yeah. If he leads after the first corner, I think we could be in for an interesting race. He needs to be aggressive. He needs to show he's got elbows like he did in Austria. He tried it in Spain, but he got that terrible start. Come on, Lando. This is the summer break. This is a reset. We want to see the best. We want to see an epic battle at the front. And can Sergio Perez join? And where can Lewis Hamilton finish? Can George Russell find a bit more per lap and look after those tyres like he did in Belgium? If you liked what you see, please give us a subscribe. That would be absolutely amazing. That would cheer me up. And we'll speak to you soon. Looking forward to the race. We really are. So, like and subscribe, and speak to you soon.